Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Okay, just tell me your first and last name.
Erica Morse, Ericamorse.
You're a private investigator.
Yes, for the state of Texas.
For the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You tell us when you became involved in this case.
Involved?
Started to investigate, involved. Okay.
40 minutes after Hailey was reported missing, 3:40 p.m. on December 28th, 2010. I was the station manager here at KBST in Big Spring. And my phone rang. I was covering the
radio
news.
Station?
Yes,
Okay.
KBST radio station here in Big Spring. And my news director was out covering sports that day, and I have news background, so I was covering the news desk. And phone rang about 3:40 p.m. I answered it. And it's, Erica, this is Sheriff Toombs over in Sea City. We've got a 13-year-old girl that's gone missing. We need your help. Looks like she's been missing since at least yesterday. We're following some leads into the Big Spring area, and we need your stations to help us get the word out from the Sea City area westward into Big Spring, westward into Midland, Odessa. I said, send me the info. He faxed me over some information. I believe it might have been the initial report. We broke in at 3:45, 5 minutes later, to say that we had a missing child out of Sea City. We'd have all the details at 4, and we started running the story at 4. That's how I initially became involved in the case.
Several years later, Hailey's dad contacts you, and you're now a PI.
Correct. I got my license for Hailey to solve this case. Clinton asked me to get it.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
How did that conversation go?
I have a background in investigative reporting, and I've been covering this case, like I said, since when it first was reported. And I became really close friends with the original PI on the case. A few years, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, when Clint made his annual circuit to make sure that people are remembering this on the anniversary. I was talking with a statement analysis expert, and he said to me, because of your investigative background, you should really consider getting your PI license. He said, I think that you could take it in a rare turn from an investigative reporting angle and marry that with the PI resources and databases, surveillance techniques, things like that. And he said, I think you could be a unique asset to this case. He said that in front of Clint. We were doing a video with a local news station, and Clint kind of said, yeah, that'd be cool. So you have to meet specific criteria, be sponsored by a private investigation agency if you haven't owned your own agency for 3 years. Like I said, I was close to the original PI on this case. I reached out to him. He told me to get my 3 years of deep investigative work in. I interned with a couple of PI agencies and got my license in August, and I work for the original private investigator on this case back from 2011.
And then now you've been investigating this since August?
As a PI, yes. As a reporter, as a searcher, back from news, back the day she was reported.
So you know this from both ends, really. So
I know the original investigators on the case, worked with the original jurisdictions, and I have all of this knowledge from back then. I was a searcher. I was the captain for the Howard County search team with a woman who's now deceased. So I had access to the maps, the search grids. I worked with the search center. I had all of this information and was so frustrated because I could only do so much with it. But now as a PI, I have more access and more abilities to get things done.
What have you gotten done?
A lot. We started with the social media blitz. And I want to make sure that people understand this, because Clint's taking a lot of flack for waiting 8 years. Clint's never waited to get justice for Hailey. He stepped out of the way because he was promised an arrest when her remains were found.
I remember Clint at the mall in Midland passing out
Correct.
flyers, and we hear about him.
He'd run to El Paso with bilingual flyers that our stations, he'd come over to KBST, I'd print out 1,000 copies, and he would run down to El Paso because somebody spotted her at the border crossing. Or he was at Odessa Mall passing out flyers when there was a sighting of her at a retail store over there. He ran up and down 20 for years looking for her. We were told No body, no arrest. Find her, we can arrest. We found her, or I'm sorry to say, a prison guard found her. A prison guard whom I believe received a tip about the exact location of Hailey Dunn's body and drove 40 miles away from his home to find her.
The person who was reported to have found her was some sort of a rock hound, we were told.
I can't find anything to support that.
Wasn't he a geologist?
No, he's a prison guard. If he dabbled in arrowheads, which is exactly what he claims to have been looking for,
that's right.
That's fine. That's fine. I want to know how he ended up at those exact coordinates when it had been searched by helicopters and dogs and thousands of searchers, and those searches had been logged. This was such a specific remote area that for 2.5 years was missed by thousands of people. And I just want to know how he found that.
You think he receives this information in prison?
I believe so.
And drove there?
I asked him about it at the memorial service, and he put his head down, turned around, and walked away.
What did you ask him?
I asked him how he found out how he went to that exact location. I said, what in the world were you doing at Lake G.B. Thomas looking for arrowheads? And he put his head down and walked away. I mean no ill will against this man. I am so grateful to him for at least Clint doesn't think she's being held somewhere in Odessa being pimped out like it's being spewed on the internet, and that he had something to do with pimping her out in Odessa in the oil fields. At least we know that's not true. At least we know she's not hooked on meth somewhere being sold off for a drug tech. At least he has that knowledge. But we don't know beyond that. We just truly don't know. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this case.
Tell me, Sean Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
He's here somewhere in Big Spring.
I know where he is. I know where he is.
You also feel that he's the guy.
I feel that he is, this is really hard to say, I feel that he is one of at least two pieces of a conspiracy. Yes, I believe that he is one of two people who has knowledge of what happened to Hailey that day, and it is not our jobs to put the weapon in his hand and prove he's the one who did it. It is only our jobs to prove that he has knowledge of her death, that the maps that were provided to us by law enforcement in 2011, and we were so told to focus in this area because that's where the pings happened, and I had an investigator look me in the eye and said, I bet you my life she will be found in this square, and she was found in this square. And that square matches the pings heading from Sea City to Big Spring on the old bootleggers roads. It does not take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It does not take a rocket scientist to know that information is being withheld by the prime suspect and mom, and I'm sorry, I know mom's not a suspect, but she was named a person of interest at one point. She's the only person who's ever been arrested in connection with this case, and it's directly for lying to the police. That's a problem.
She's the second part of this conspiracy?
Correct, correct. I believe that we turned our focus to the witchcraft book this weekend. And the reason that this is coming out is because now we're starting to dig deeper into it. As with most parents in Clint's situation, they loop everything that's happened. All they do, while the rest of us can turn off at night and maybe sit down and watch a TV show, they can't. If a CSI drama comes on or an NCIS or something like that, that parent is looking at that from their standpoint. Okay, how would this investigator handle it? How was the body found? Oh my God, is this what happened to Hailey? Is this what happened to Hailey? Is this what's happened to Hailey? That's how they do it. That's how they think. And I know this from spending thousands of hours with Clint. The big thing is when a parent is replaying that, they start to remember pieces that they hadn't remembered earlier. Or it sparks a conversation that results in an answer I had never heard before. And when we talked about that book the other day, and we started talking about it with a couple of the former searchers, I can't believe we missed this, but a searcher said to me, what was the name of the book? Great question. I've been doing investigative reporting for 30 years, and I didn't ask that. I missed one. What's the name of the book? So we sat down for 2 hours, went through Amazon, and found the book. And now we've downloaded the book and we're pouring through it, trying to find out the significance of 27th and 28th of December. What significance does that have in the world of witchcraft? What significance does it have when you have this book, a purple rug with a pentagram on it, and I hate to say it, the potential sacrifice of a child? We don't know specifically what happened in those walls. But I do know that the current DA's investigator did everything he could to make sure those walls literally and physically came down. They demolished the home where Hailey was last seen alive, and I believe they made a big mistake when they did it. I think that valuable evidence was lost, and I think with the advancement of technology, that they could have gone back today or next week or next month and found something that they had missed years ago, and that it cannot be used at trial. And that scares me.
What's the name of the book?
You okay with that? It's called A Witch's Bible.
That's the name of the book.
Yes, it's a black book with a circular. You'll be able to see it.
You know, this is the book that Billy took to a friend and had her destroy or hide.
We work off of yes and no. We work off of probabilities just like science does. We always have to allow for a 0.2% threshold of inaccuracy. Clint was very specific in describing the book to me before I ever pulled up Amazon. I didn't want to taint his brain. So I asked him for a description of the outside cover and what he recalled seeing inside the book, because he flipped through it. What is this? Oh my God, this is disgusting. He said he recalled very specific pictures, black and white pictures of people having orgies, people doing sacrifices, people at altars. I found the cover first, and then we went through the book, and he found the pictures. It was when we found the pictures that he said, this has got to be it. This is it. This looks exactly like what I recall. So I answer that with a 99.8% level of certainty, and also knowing, in all fairness, that that book has multiple reprints. So the 1987 version may be a little bit different than the 1996 version. So, but basically it's a small black book that has a circle and a pentagram on the front. It's called A Witch's Bible. That was the book that was taken and hidden from police.
In that book, what is the significance of those days?
We're still going through it. We had to download the Kindle version, so it takes a little bit longer, and it's about 5,000 pages on Kindle. So when we were pouring over it this weekend, we got up into about the end of December and then realized that it was still downloading. So, I mean, I kid you not, we're in the process of trying to get that. It may seem strange request, but if there is anybody who claims to dabble in witchcraft, black, magic, I don't want to interview them for kicks. I want to interview them for answers. I want to know if there was some type of significance to the wax gibbous moon being at 68% on December 27th of 2010. I want to know what the significance was of this purple pentagram rug. If there is a sacrifice involved or some type of demonic part involved in this that has to do with sacrificing one's child to show one's love. This is so far outside the realm of what I know.
I was gonna say, I mean, that is just
sick.
A mother and her boyfriend sacrificing a child?
Let me